The Public Defender Service Corporation Board of Trustees meeting for January 23rd will be called to order. Will the secretary please take roll and ascertain the existence of a quorum?
Chief Justice Robert J. Torres.
Afide, I'm present.
Presiding Judge Alberto C. Lamarina III.
Present.
Guam Bar President Jackie Titralahi.
He's not here currently.
Trustee Donna Munya Kanata.
Mabuhay.
Trustee Dr. Christiana Whitman.
Present.
So 4 of the 5 members are here. We do have a quorum. Notice of the meeting has complied with the open government law, published 5 working days and 48 hours in advance of the meeting. The first item on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from the regular meeting of November 28th, 2023. Can I entertain a motion to approve?
Move to approve, subject to correction.
Second.
Moved by the presiding judge, seconded by Trustee Kanata. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There being no objection, the meeting minutes are approved. Under old business, financial update, allotment releases. Kathy, you're recognized.
PDSC received 1.2 million after the last board meeting, and APD received 520,720 based on our allotment request with DOA. So we're at 91% for both organizations. But Stop 21, which is now our the advocacy center, Stop 21 is TAC. All of Stop 21 has been expended in October 23 for the 21,422. So we're awaiting approval for Stop 22. We've been using ICJR money for Stop. As of 12/31/2023, we had expended 99,822, and the balance was 32 for personnel costs and 9,000 for travel and supplies, more like supplies. The funding will be used until such time that Stop 22 is appropriated to us by the governor's office. Elder Justice Center for October to December 2023. There were corrections made to our invoices that we submitted to DPHSS. The figures are all changed so that we can get the amount budgeted for. PDSC has received a total of 47,655 for the 3 months of this quarter. So it's just the October to December that we received the 47,655. We just signed the MOU. I think that was on Monday or Tuesday. So we have a signed MOU for DPHSS to continue our services with EJC. The BSP grant that we have, which is the Access to Council, where we have Zoom accounts at DOC, DYA, and Hagania Detention Center. We expended the money for this grant. We completed the first quarter report, but I think we're down. We've expended most of the funds, and whatever we're not using, we're returning back to BSP. It's very nominal, the amount that we may return back to BSP.
All right, thank you. Which was reported last time that we felt that was going to be a very small amount, if anything. Any questions of the executive director? There doesn't appear to be any questions. We'll then go down to the next item, which is the PDSC executive director's report.
Okay, thanks. Before I start that, so one of the grants was that Access to Council. That's I guess BJ money. So that grant got extended till June. So we're able to use that our Zoom accounts at the correctional facilities through June, and we'll figure out what we're gonna do after that. And we're still trying to iron out the kinks. They're having personnel issues. So rather than us going down there in person, we're trying to meet with our clients via Zoom, and it's great because then we could share documents on screen, and they can actually watch videos or whatever. So we're hoping we can expand that program. I think we've missed our trustee Terlahi actually used it once, and she thought it was very useful. But as far as the report, we really just have our stats to report, and just going over it, it looks like we have about 1,947 pre-judgment cases, and of those, 872 are out on warrants, and some of these are like really old warrants. That's why if you look at, like my numbers, I have a lot of bench warrants, 104, but those are accumulated from my entire time at the public defender. So some of these are really old. And then we have 902 post bench warrants. So we have we think we have like 3,747 post judgment cases. A lot of these are getting closed out. They've been closed by court already. We're just in the process of closing them out once we get a document. And so that's why if you look at the fiscal year 2024, right, we had 291 cases opened um, from October through December. When we say we closed 274, of those 36 we closed due to conflict, 7 really was income exceeded, and then one substitution of counsel. So the balance really are cases like when the family violence cases are dismissed and expunged, or DUIs, they're completed with probation. Those comprise, or even dismissals to avoid trial or acquittals, things like that. Those are all closed. So between in the first quarter, we closed about 274. So it looks like our caseloads, it's come down since 2016, but we still are carrying. Last year they charged out more felonies than in the prior 3 years. So, but I think we're we're handling everything that we can. Mm. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, may I request maybe by commencing the next meeting, and this will apply to the alternate public defender, maybe they can give us a status on how many of their pretrial clients are detained at the Department of Corrections, how many applications they made to determine eligibility to the electronic monitoring program, and how many of those were eligible and how many of those were denied. Can we have that report, Mr. Chairman, by the next meeting for PD and APD? Since they take over 90 to 95% of all the criminal cases.
That shouldn't be an issue, being able to provide those stats.
Yeah,
It'll
we'll be
actually
able to
help
provide
us
them.
as well. One of the things that the judiciary is trying to do is work with the Department of Corrections. We all know that they're facing overcrowding and conditions that are not beneficial for the detainees or for the officers who are in charge of supervising them. And so we want to ensure that we evaluate all the possible solutions, including eligibility for electronic monitoring. Not the PJ's references are specifically for pretrial, how many are detained, how many there were requests for electronic monitoring that are detained and were denied. And I think that would be helpful because we're going through an inventory of all the pretrial detainees. But I think even on top of that, perhaps if we could identify any potential post-conviction low-risk offenders who might warrant release on electronic monitoring as well, might be eligible for that, and any of them that may be a post-conviction. The court has expanded its program to post-conviction, looking at certain categories for release of those post-conviction. So I think those would be very helpful stats, presiding judge, and we get those numbers and those cases identified for the next meeting.
Okay, and in addition, I know that CJ, you open it up to also post-conviction. At least in my veterans treatment court, I put at least 3 or 4 people on EM at one time or another. It seems to be working. Instead of sanctioning them to incarceration, I put them in EM for at least a period of 3 months. And if they do well, then I take them off. And so I'll be discussing that with the other treatment court judges to use that instead of incarceration as a sanction for those who are repeat offenders. So instead of sending them to jail, put them on EM, and if they continue to violate, then of course they get incarcerated. Huh?
Right.
That
Yep.
sounds great. And we do have the capability to present those stats, so we should be able to provide that at the next board meeting.
All right, we look forward to getting them. And you know, if there could be backup, we can have a summary, but if you have the case number identification, it'll also can be shared with the judiciary.
That's
And,
great.
and we can look at that as well. Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Anything else from the executive director? And sorry, I misspoke when I mentioned our administrative director as the executive director transitioning, but we all know who's who here. The next is APD, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. We put our first quarter count on for the board to review. Just the numbers speak for themselves, Your Honor, unless you have any questions. I would like to add though, regarding the another box you would like us to put in for the EMP. I must admit that Judge Lamarena does use the EMP a lot for his veterans court, and it's helped 2 of my clients. So I see the benefit of using that as an alternative to being incarcerated. So that is a good idea. Thank you, Your Honor. But anything else, we are still working on just getting our numbers to what the board has asked us to do, is to make sure that we close out our cases in time to follow the standards. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any questions for APD on their stats? I mean, you know, we see obviously the numbers of cases from 23, and then we don't have the 2024 numbers yet, but we see the 2023 numbers are complete, and they went up slightly over what 22 numbers were.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So my request for EM, the report will also apply for APD. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, yes, and they understand that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Oh, one more thing. Happy New Year, everybody.
Oh, Happy New Year.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the report from the Civil Law Center.
The numbers, just like Annie, the numbers are presented to the board, and they're there. If you can see, I think I wanted to point out one thing. If you look at the open close cases, you'll see that for EJC, we've been moving things quickly, assisting the consumers in our EJC population, and getting open and close cases quicker than it used to be. We also, the numbers remain consistent as they continue to exceed what the quota was for EJC, which was 25 cases. So we continue to try to assist everyone as they come into the office and provide them quick services. We still do homebound, and of course, go into the residential facilities like GRMC and GMH.
Nice.
Also, as far as civil law, Your Honor, I wanted to point out that we'll be adding an additional section there. We've reached out to the courts to get the cases that were assigned to James Bivy. So it's slowly trickling in to our office. So I've received about 5 or 6 court-appointed cases on the juvenile special proceedings cases. The intentions initially was to handle the guardian ad litem matters, because we're trying to develop a program here so that we can assist in cost savings. So our office would handle guardian ad litem cases in the PINS petitions. And hopefully that would allow PDs and APDs to just be appointed to the parents. That would also avoid conflict issues that may arise since APD and PDs doesn't necessarily represent children. Most of the time they represent the criminal adult defendants. And so that's what the plan is, that we hope to get in the future, just appointed as guardian ad litem in the PINS cases. And then I'm working with the University of Guam and GCC, so I can develop a CASA guardian ad litem program where we would have volunteer guardian ad litems that would work under an attorney and a social worker in this office to present to the court the report. So that's the future. That's what we're working on. Right now, I do have these court appointments from James Spivey that I told the courts I'm willing to handle, since they said it's less than 2 handfuls of cases in the juvenile special proceedings, where I also represent parents. And so the reason they're saying is there's the APDs and PDs in these cases also already represent the other parties. And so at this point, I just remained in the case, and I'm trying to handle it to assist the courts with. I understand that the juvenile panel is very hard to get attorneys on board, and so we're just trying to assist the court in whatever we can. But the stats are presented. This is our CLC and our EJC stats, and then the next page is our tax stats. It continues to remain. We continue to service the community. So if anyone has any questions, I'm open to that.
Do you see the demand increasing?
In EJC, yes, and in the civil law area, we do. There's so many people that come in and they're requesting services that we either have not provided. I'm slowly trying to evaluate and expand. What we have done is we've assisted CPS in the guardianship cases where it's an informal matter. So that's the numbers that you see. Some of the numbers you see in our thing is we've assisted them where there was no need to file a PINS petition, but they needed placement or establishment of paternity because they can't enroll their child in school and they can't get the public benefits that they need. So those are the cases, that we've done. There's a demand in the both EJC and Civil Law Center. We've completed all the war claims cases that have come our way. I have pending right now 2 that we just filed, 1 in court, and then 1 more just awaiting signatures. But those things, there's more out there that don't know that the money's sitting in the Department of Treasury. So I think the intentions is we'll eventually do some media, educational media outreach as far as what our office does, because I know that is required under our EJC grant to go into the media and just discuss the services provided. So the outreaches we do, we're trying to educate them. But again, there's so many. I looked at the Department of Treasury's page on their war claims, and there's just over 4,000 cases, and we don't know the disposition of those until they come into our office.
Okay. Yeah, I think public outreach would be helpful to try to notify people that there's money there that's available and that we can assist to help them in that regard. Any questions from any of the executive directors or managing attorneys? All right. We have no new business on this item's agenda. I know that it's getting started again for us to start looking at working on the budget. We're heading into a new budget cycle coming up in the next fiscal year. I also understand that we knew that the end of this month is when the executive branch and Department of Administration was tasked with completing their attorney pay plan. So we'll have to monitor that adoption of that pay plan and ensure that, whatever gets done, that we are consistent so we don't find any lags between the attorneys across the government of Guam, that there's uniformity, which is what the pay plan was intended to provide for in external equity, internal equity and external competitiveness. So we've got to monitor that. And when it comes out, I think we probably should evaluate that and put that on the agenda for the next meeting as well. Is there anything under public discussion? No public discussion items. All right, so then our next meeting will be February 27th And it'll either be in person or Zoom, your preference. I think I was supposed to be in that conference room today, but unfortunately at the last minute, the plans changed and I was unable to make it there today, but hopefully at the next one, I'll be able to be there in person. And with that, can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, moved by presiding judge, seconded by Panay Kanata. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no opposition. The Public Defender Service Corporation meeting will now come to a conclusion. Thank you, everyone.